again, everybody. Only about 600 meteorologists could get together on a day where it's sunny, it's Saturday, and a golf course, and we're inside a room that's covered up with shades. Way to go! Oh, and it's winter, too. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I tell you what, this is exciting. Number one, I get to see people, for real, talking to them, other than some of our cameramen, who are lovely people, but are generally not too enthusiastic about me standing in front of them talking about the weather. And one of them are right over there. It's also pretty cool to get out here and have 30 minutes to talk about the weather. Woo! 3 minutes and no commercials, right? Kind of give you a little bit of a background. I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and probably like everybody else here in the room, at some point in your life, maybe growing up or when you were younger, you saw something weather-related that just got you hooked on weather. And I had the blizzard of '79 in northern Indiana, south side of Chicago. We got out of school for several weeks. And I really still like that idea of getting out of school. I had more fun those 2 weeks of winter back in '79 than I ever had. And I sat back and I watched the TV meteorologists, and I sat there and I said, wait, when are we going to get another big storm like this? And of course, it never happened. But I'd sit there intently, and the guys that I grew up watching were John Coleman. He was the guy who predicted the blizzard of '79. I'm John Coleman, Carol and Ron, 40 degrees on the boonies. And another fellow that I actually was an understudy with, Tom Skilling, who I've followed for years. All right, I'm Tom Skilling in the weather office. Hello again, everybody. Ryan, that is a 28-board match, and it'll find its own moisture. So these are the guys that I grew up watching. And at 10 years old, I thought, well, that's the only way you can predict the weather. You have to be a TV weatherman. Had no idea that there were other jobs out there, other of the business. I thought, that's what I want to do. And the reason I got into it is because they kept missing the forecast. Now this is well in advance of the times when we had the Weather Channel and the radars that you can get on your phone. It was as simple as this. Brian in the basement with his model train, an HO scale, and listening to KWO 39 operating on a frequency of 162.55 megahertz from the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Illinois. We broadcast from the transmitter located on the Sears Tower. Ladies and gentlemen, a nerd is born. I wear it like a badge. I love science. I love the meteorology part of it. And as a kid growing up, I wanted that snowstorm. I wanted to get out of school. And they'd make the prediction of a major winter storm is headed our way, and of course everyone would get excited. The plow trucks were live at the salt barn and all this other jazz. And I'd run downstairs and take a look out the window, and of course, you know, the action weather radar we had was my porch light. Yeah. Midnight, flurry, all right, here it comes. Finally fall back asleep, and about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, I hear the radio on, and I'm waiting to hear St. Anne's School closed. Nothing. Now I hear in the kitchen with some coffee. I don't hear anything else happening. Oh, where's the storm? So I hop out of bed, I run to the window, and it's about as nice as it is out there right now as it was that day when we had that major winter storm. So from a scientific standpoint, I wanted to figure this stuff out on my own. And that's what really got me interested in the science. I wanted to figure out, why do we have these big snowstorms? Why did we miss that snowstorm? Now we're going back into the 70s here, obviously, when we didn't have the technology that we have today. But it was part of that gene, I suppose, that number one, you get hooked on weather at an early age because of something you experienced. And the constant wanting to know, to figure things out. So yes, that's the nerdy side of it. The other part about it is that I wanted to get into the broadcast side. Just because, number one, that's what was the only way to do it. And the other thing is, I like to goof off. Oh my goodness, I am proud of the fact that we put more paper airplanes in the lights in 6th grade than any other class before us. And as the TV meteorologist, you have to have that personality, to have that light side, have that ability to make people laugh. I'm in the entertainment business. There is no doubt about that. When you turn on that magic box, you want people to turn it on and stay and watch. That's the reality of it. Now, I don't have the looks of some of the local meteorologists, so what's my next angle? I know, how about being accurate? That might work, right? Well, ultimately, that's what it comes down to. We want you to watch, and I have a product that I sell every night. And if I don't believe in that product, then I can't sell it to you. So I have to roll up my sleeves, and maybe I kick an old school, and I don't have a problem with that. This is the way I was trained.
There's more.
But yeah, I still use these things called weather maps. And we chart them, and we have formulas and things that are all out.
I still have one.
And most of the time it works. The ones they remember are the ones you miss. So we do put a lot of hard work into these forecasts, and it's not just all show business, but we do realize that that's a big part of it, is that we want you to watch. The side of the business that I'm in is it has to be entertaining, but you run a tightrope between being too funny, being out there, and then being serious. So here we are sitting here talking today about weather. We love it. We love talking about weather. I want to entertain you, but I also am very, very cognizant of the fact of what happened last week. You know, the ultimate thing that I do is to try and help people, to try and save people's lives, to keep people safe. And whether it's tornadoes or flooding or winter storms, we've got to get that message out. What is incredible is how many more people are out there getting these messages out. Our friends at the National Weather Service have worked so hard over these years. I remember we had the 56s, the 74s, and all those old radars, and now we've got this fancy schmancy dual pole radars coming. But the amazing thing is how many people, how many more eyes are on these storms. And we know in the TV business that you love looking at tornadoes. And I think I have a video of some tornadoes. Do we have that? I gave you 2 DVDs, and the first one I flipped out. I will show you some neat, but this is the part of it that I don't know what's the matter with you guys running to these storms. I don't have anything to do with it. You guys get in your cars, you drive after these things, and you went, oh, there it is. The one tornado I ever saw with my own eyes was the tornado outbreak of race day in '04. Number one, it screwed up my whole day because I wanted to drink beer and have brats and relax. And then here I am at 11 o'clock standing there with a suit on talking about tornadoes, and then of course we get dry spot and the temperatures take off, and all the while I'm like, yeah, this is a lot of fun. It's 78 degrees within the last hour. We've jumped 15 degrees. Here we go. These are the promos, obviously, that wound up on this DVD, which I really didn't need to have, but you'll see some tornado video. But the bottom line is that we want you to watch, and as soon as we get this video of tornadoes and we put that on TV, people are like, oh, this is great. And guess what? I work in the TV business. We know you love it. So guess what's on TV? Tornado video. And what do all stations do? Show video of tornadoes. Why? Because we want you to watch. And ultimately, you have a generation of children that grow up terrified of weather. You know, I have to say, I get the humor in this, but a kid getting hit by lightning holding a baseball bat doesn't sit well with me. Honestly, come on. They don't ask me a lot about these things, so I just kind of sit back and wonder. But we know that you're going to watch, and we want you to watch, and obviously when this shows up on the scene, you're like, holy smokes, that is pretty captivating.
That was in South Dakota, wasn't it?
No, it was in Canada.
I don't know who these people are.
It was Manitoba.
I do know who you are. But again, the one time I ever chased a thunderstorm, my car got pelted with hail, and I thought, what an idiot I am. I'm going to stop here and get a Snickers at the gas station and head back. I can look at computers all day long and do the forecasting. And when we put this video up, it's amazing. Years ago, when I started in the business in the mid-'90s, this movie came out. And I think it created this entire generation of storm chasers or storm panic people, so to speak. I haven't come up with an exact term, but what happened was that this movie Twister came out. It's coming again! It's following me! And we had a bunch of students there, young children, see that. And that movie was the equivalent to Jaws when I was a kid, as far as I'm concerned. I was afraid of those sharks. We had a whole generation of kids grow up, I think, panicking over weather. 2 reasons why. Number one, because of this. We've got more video, more pictures of this stuff coming in. That's a product of camcorders, then eventually digital recorders, and now our phones. So you have, oh my gosh, I'm going to chase tornadoes, and then you have, hi Brian, I have a 10-year-old daughter who's absolutely terrified of weather. Can she come in and talk to you about severe weather or thunderstorms? Absolutely, ma'am. And then that phone rings again and again and again. I have so many of these young children who are petrified of storms. I didn't feel that way as a kid growing up. My grandmother, Melvina Plepke, all right, old school European, right, sat on the porch and watched the skies turn dark and green, and she said, that's going to be a bad storm. Get your butt inside.
You go driving.
She also had a wooden spoon. I listened. Oh my gosh, somebody who actually recognizes the weather and says, let's go inside and be safe, instead of you people driving after it and chasing. But you know where I'm at. I wasn't afraid of storms. I saw a falling cloud, but I wasn't terrified. And I know what also has transpired over the last few years is that in the TV business, yes, tornado video, people watch, oh my gosh, tornadoes are coming, what to do to stay safe, we've got you covered, we're tracking the storms, tracking, stay with us, we've got the best coverage ever, we've got the most powerful radar in the world, we'll keep you safe, what your family needs to know, blah, 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 blah. I go back to Melvina Plepke, get your butt inside the house. But I'm one guy, right? So the bottom line is that, you know, in the TV business, you do run that fine line of being entertaining, but still delivering a powerful message. And we do want to keep people safe. When I see the tornado film and video that we're getting now, I say film. I think about how many more of these pictures you see these days. It's not as if we've got, well, yes, last year was an amazing amount of tornadoes. So far, we're off to an amazing start. We know how weather works. They go in cycles. We will have a quiet severe weather season soon. We've had discussions that maybe this severe weather season will shut down at some point, maybe cut off when the La Nina gives up at the beginning of June or July. Don't know. You know, we're still talking about that wicked winter that we're going to have. Yeah. Really bad. 75% of the days above normal. Sure, thank you, Farmer's Almanac. You're talking about a winter that's produced 9.8 inches of snow. Way to go! I've got a snow shovel that I can sell you. So where is the severe weather season going? We don't know. It's already been off that terrible start. We do certainly know that the tornadoes that touch down, and that we are no strangers to them in Indiana. I started my job, my first job was up in actually Elkhart, Indiana. Let's go ahead and flip over and I'll show you this. I did a lot of research on the Palm Sunday 1965 tornado outbreak. When I saw the pictures from Henryville, that was the first thing that popped in my head. My intern, Michael Clark, who's here, he has a chase team out of Greenwood. He and his team were on the ground when the tornado hit. And we started to get a lot of the video back, and our teams were down there to see the destruction. And I thought, when I saw that school bus that was tipped over, I immediately thought, man, that reminded me of Palm Sunday. And I started in Elkhart, Indiana, which Elkhart, Indiana was the epicenter of the Palm Sunday 1965 outbreak. What happened at the TV station that I worked at was that I was in the basement. Don't want to tell you why, but she was a pretty gal. I found in the basement of the studios here the original film of the day after the 1965 tornado struck. Of course, the picture that everyone remembers is the twin tornadoes. You'll see it there in the bottom right-hand corner. Fascinating about that Palm Sunday tornado outbreak was the fact that those twin tornadoes were F4s, and one was clockwise, the other one was counterclockwise. And this is some of the original bulletins that came across in 1965. We put together a special, Palm Sunday tornado specials. We were on a shoestring. There were 3 of us. We had frozen white castles from Kroger that night to get the thing done. But what's really, really cool about all this is that we found the film. And what's even more cool is my hairdo. Look at that do, man. Sweet Georgia Brown. Wow. And that suit was fine. I didn't think you were going to play that part of it. Well, what was neat to find all this is that what happened in '65, those twin tornadoes, we had 137 people perish that night. But to be able to find the original film on this and put it on the tape and be able to leave it at the libraries years later was pretty darn cool. And you talk about the tornadoes and what we do today to cover them, and you see the pictures that were down in Henryville, and I see these pictures, and I think to myself, it's happened again, and it will happen again. We know this will happen.
Just a matter of time.
We've had 80 F4 tornadoes hit the state since 1950. We had the F4, of course, downstate. You see the disaster of this tornado, and you think of the major tornado outbreaks, and here we are, the state of Indiana has been in 3 of them, 74, 65, tri-state. And to talk to the people who survived the 65 Palm Sunday outbreak, it's remarkable the difference in the fact that they seem so stoic. We didn't have crisis teams that went in after a tornado. These guys were war-torn, grizzled veterans. Oh, you're laughing at the hairdo again. That's a veteran right there. I'll tell you what. I was 6'2", but with the hairdo 6'7". I was the first one to know it was raining. But you talk to these guys who went in afterwards, and they said, you know, they were so matter-of-fact about it. Yeah, we scrubbed bodies for days afterwards. We had to get all the dirt out of their skin. A lot of the people couldn't bleed from the Palm Sunday tornadoes because the mud was so impacted into their skin. We scrubbed the bodies. The dirt was wedged up underneath the eyelids. People's eyes were bulging. The Palm Sunday tornado that struck the Midway Trailer Park wiped it out. And minutes later, a second F4 would hit. That the people of the residents there that survived the first round literally ran out in the field and buried their heads into the ground. What's fascinating about the Palm Sunday tornadoes is it also went into LaGrange County, which is very heavily Amish, big Amish community. The Palm Sunday tornado outbreak, number 1, was the first blanket tornado warning that was ever issued. At one point, they just threw up their hands in northern Indiana and said, you know what? Everybody take cover. You know, this is tornado warning. This is before the SPC, severe weather outlooks and things like that. But these tornadoes would rake through northern Indiana, and these tornadoes would also go into LaGrange County. And what I found so fascinating about this is that they put out the tornado forecast for the day. They forecasted a major severe weather outbreak as best they could back in '65. But those same tornadoes that raked Elkhart County cut through many of the large Amish communities. And remarkably, very few Amish people died from those storms. Why? Now, Lina wasn't Amish, but she could sling the hat. You're absolutely right. They paid attention to the weather. And all this forecasting that we do, and all the storm chasing that you do, the reason why you storm chasers have arrived back from these storms is because you've done it before. It's called cognition. It happens. That's how we forecast, too. Oh, I've seen this happen before. Oh, see that farmer in LaGrange who looked up and saw the dark sky coming at me and said, get your butt in the garage. I think we have become so complacent as a society to say, oh, it's fast food, you know. You need to tell me when the tornado's coming because I got places to go. All right? Just paying attention to the weather, looking outside is half the battle. And if we can kind of instill that, hey, we've got some amazing tools out there to forecast. You've got some amazing meteorologists here in central Indiana and northern Indiana, across the country. We've come a long way since that first satellite went up in '61. We've got amazing technology, but people still expect you to serve that up. And unfortunately, this is in black and white. We had it in color, and it's going to happen again. We don't know when. But if we can save lives, that's the most important part of all this. So as much as I like to entertain, we also have to spread that message to keep people safe, keep people advised of what's going on, and just ultimately be responsible for our own actions. Keep an eye on the skies. Look up and see it's bad. Go inside. I'm open for some questions. I'm pretty long-winded. I wanted to talk all afternoon long, but I've got some ideas on where our weather is going personally. People are asking, are we going to see more severe weather? Obviously, we talked a little bit about this. You know, with the La Nina beginning to decay, and it's supposed to be done, I believe, by May, according to the CPC, will it mean that we've got a quieter summer months going? I don't know. We'll see. You know, I'm the same guy that was looking at the last 12 of the last 13 months have been above normal. We know that the other shoe is going to drop, but when? You know, last winter, we've blown up a lot of myths, too. How about this? It was 100 degrees on Labor Day weekend. What in the world? Oh, my gosh, this means we're going to have a terrible winter, right? We've had 100-degree heat last summer. Every month has been above normal since last January, except for 2. That was a year ago January and September, which was a chronological wash. So we're talking about a period of time that has been extended period of time of warm weather. Are we going to get cold? Absolutely. Is there global warming? Yes. Because if there wasn't global warming, we'd be on an ice sheet right now. I went to a school in south side of Chicago called Moraine Valley. Terminal moraines. Hey, way to go. Get out of Dodge. Go Marauders. I played football there. I played football in high school. And I blew out my knee. And I'm laying there, and I grab my knee, and I look up, and that's a cumulonimbus cloud. It hurried my career into meteorology. But I really did. I blew up my knee playing football, and I ended up in Moraine Valley. And that's where I had a lot of my environmental science classes. So yay, Marauders. And wound up at Columbia College, where I met Tom Skilling. And then he screwed me up from that point on. And I get sidetracked every once in a while. I know some of my former interns are here, and they probably know that too. But you know, the state of the TV business, I'll touch on that. We want you to watch. Do we hype things? Our MIC here was very kind to say pretty much no. I'm here to tell you, absolutely. Because if we don't, the other guys will. You know, and I say that deep down inside, I love what I do. I love weather. That's what at the core of all this is. I love the forecast. Because honestly, if I didn't step out in front of that camera every night, I'd still take all these stupid maps and I'd go into my basement with my HO train and my NOAA weather radio, and I'd still be doing this. I just wouldn't do it on television. I got pretty lucky. I have a job I love to go to every day. I've got to follow a dream that I wanted to do something since I was 10 years old. So let me open up the floor to you guys. I've touched briefly on the global warming aspect of things. I do believe that everything comes in cycles. The planet is 4.6 billion years old, and we just don't know when the cycles have started and when they've ended. So whether or not I wind up on some website of being a denier or whatever the hell that is that these people are doing, whatever. Let me take some questions. How about that? Nobody have any questions? Oh, sure. Yes. Hi. How are you?
I have a question about, because I've done a lot of research over the past 7 years about the lower Ohio Valley area and the tornadoes, and I want to know if you agree with me that because that's why I've made my the predictions for April and May. I'm calling for 698 tornadoes in April and 895 in May. And just because I've done a lot of research over 7 years.
I have to tell you, that's a pretty bold prediction. If you hit that, I think you're going, will you buy my lottery ticket?
And
I think it's amazing. Honestly, there is no real way to tell exactly how many we're going to have. I honestly, we can sit up here and say, well, there's going to be 600, and I applaud your enthusiasm and your work on that and the research. But honestly, I could not say, yeah, I've got to put a number on this. And ultimately, that's not my call to do that. My call is to keep people safe. But again, from a TV standpoint, if someone were to hear that, they might go and run with that. I think that that is something that, from a research standpoint, needs to be tested, checked out. But from my standpoint, I would not, I couldn't comment on how many we're going to have.
And I also, with my research, I've said that Kentucky, Tennessee, West Virginia, Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio, and Arkansas are at the highest risk for violent, long-track, long-lived tornadoes this year.
Well, that covers a pretty good portion of the tornado alleys. But honestly, man, you know, we can't say that. You know, but listen, if it comes down to one tornado that touches down and does the most damage, and that could happen in the Dakotas. I don't know. And I think, again, I applaud you guys and your work and your research on it, but you can't nail that down. Yes.
This is so going on YouTube. Do it.
I mean, I know you've done a lot of research on the Palm Sunday tornadoes. Have you seen any forecast trends, you know, like any forecasts that have come close, you know, like in prediction of severe weather, or, you know, the way that the radar or the map was showing, you know, have you seen trends in the past several years, you know, that have come Palm Sunday or?
Well, yeah. Well, obviously last year it seemed like every other weekend we had another massive tornado on. Right? Again, I really think that you get into a cycle. You just get into a cycle of these patterns. And you go back to '65, we didn't have the kind of data and the research that we can do now. For that matter, we were still meteorology is still a very, very young science. You think about the fact that we put the radars up in '61. We had the satellites. 56 and 74, we had the radars going. And you really think about the Doppler radar technology from the 70s and 80s now, and here we are updating in the late 90s and 2000s. So the meteorology aspect is still very young, and in '65, I think they did an amazing to get that forecast out.